Hello, and welcome to another Agent Success session from Coldwell Banker Realty. My name is Jennifer Motruck, and I'm a member of the field marketing team. Today, I'm going to share and walk you through the perfect pitch. This is defining your unique agent value proposition using credibility, relevance, and differentiation. We'll show you how to get to some final results that you can apply right away to your marketing materials and to your outreach. This is a self-guided session, which means you can follow along at your own leisure. You can pause and rewind the recording. You can take notes. You can work side by side with a monitor and your laptop for a hands-on workshop experience. In preparation for this workshop, I encourage you to do the following. Have something to write with. Get a pen and a piece of paper. And you'll also want to access the workbook that comes with this workshop. The workbook materials are found on desk. All you have to do is go into the search bar and type in perfect pitch, and you'll be able to download an editable PDF version of the workbook so you can use it in real time. It will save your answers and record the information for you so you can access it again in the future. Let's get started. We appreciate you being here and taking advantage of these learning opportunities. This program is optional and discusses best practices for your consideration. If you are thinking of adopting any of these or applying any of them to your current marketing strategy, please make sure to review the requirements in your area or your metro with your broker or your branch manager or a manager, including any questions related to contacting consumers. I also want to highlight the importance of the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, better known as the TCPA. The general rules are that it's okay to contact people if you've been in touch with them recently or if they have provided their phone number to you recently. But it is always important to remember to contact and look through the do not call lists. Those DNC lists are updated regularly, just in case you haven't spoken to that person in a while. You'll want to check the list anytime you don't have permission from the person. Automated calling and dialing using texting platforms or auto dialers should never be used. Pre-recorded messages and artificial voices should never be used. You will be personally liable for any violations of the TCPA. Again, if you have any other questions, please contact your broker or your manager. We will be using Microsoft Copilot Artificial Intelligence in this workshop, so here are a few reminders when using AI. So we want to highlight, of course, what a value proposition is, and that you should always be truthful and accurate when putting together information about yourself, of course. So how do you tell your story to potential clients in a listing appointment? Your personal story is a very powerful tool for building trust and connections. It's your story, it's your background, it's who you are that has gotten you to the place where you are now. It shows how you can help clients to achieve their goals and objectives. And by focusing on credibility, relevance, and differentiation through storytelling, you'll be able to craft a unique value statement that sets you apart from the competition. Some of the benefits of having a clear agent value proposition include highlighting your skills and your experience. You've worked hard to get where you are, whether you came from a different industry or whether you've been in real estate for quite a while, it all matters. Making interactions memorable is another great benefit of being able to clearly articulate who you are and what you offer. And finally, being able to clearly articulate your value proposition is really important. Practice makes perfect, and those two words are interchangeable in this session. We're calling it perfect pitch, but remember, perfect can sometimes get in the way of great. And if you feel like great is going to make it, that's terrific. And if good is what works for you, that's okay too. Perfect pitch is the name that we like to call this for easy reference. So our goal in this workshop is threefold. Step one, we're going to help you get to the point where you can create a 30-second elevator pitch. This is for those quick turn scenarios where you only have a few minutes to share who you are and what you do. Make it a little more interesting and dynamic versus just saying, I'm a real estate agent, or I sell houses. Secondly, we want to help you craft a 3-minute cocktail party version. This could also be applied in a networking situation, in an outside business situation, maybe a longer interaction with someone you're meeting for the first time. And then finally, and this will happen on your own, you're going to take that 3-minute version and combine it with a listing presentation. This is a terrific opportunity to review your current listing presentation materials, make sure that they're up to date, make sure that they're accurate, make sure that they are relevant to your audiences and your potential clients, and then integrate your 3-minute perfect pitch for a terrific package that highlights you in the best possible light. So now we're ready for our next steps, which are helping you to define your unique value. We're going to help you thoughtfully evaluate your unique offerings in these 3 specific categories that you see on the right side of the screen. We want you to take your time and be contemplative and insightful. Reflect on these categories as we walk you through each of them. And then from there, we will help you define your value statement. We're going to use artificial intelligence, and in this case, it's going to be Microsoft Copilot. So now would also be a good time if you wanted to pause and go into Office 365 or simply go online to copilot.microsoft.com, and you can log in using your Coldwell Banker Realty credentials to access your version of Copilot. Copilot is offered through Office 365 by benefit from the company, and it is a secure way to utilize and leverage the results of artificial intelligence. We'll do a live demonstration of how to use Copilot further on into the workshop. Here's some also helpful tips and hints to think about. If you're out there, maybe you've run into someone who works for a different broker who's got a really great value proposition. They confidently and comfortably are able to convey who they are and their value that they bring to a consumer or to someone who is looking for real estate. You can follow those folks. Log in to your social media platforms, check them out, see what they're doing. See if they're doing any advertising, read through their materials and see how they are defining and putting themselves out with their own unique value proposition. It's always important to understand what's happening out there. And of course, imitation is one of the highest forms of flattery. So let's go into each of these different characteristics and categories. First, we'll be talking about credibility. This is where you're building trust and defining your competencies. The second one, of course, is relevance. What do you bring to the consumer in this very moment? How are you the one that they should be talking to? And finally, with differentiation, what you offer above the competition and what makes you unique. First, in the category of credibility, this is where you may want to take a piece of paper and your pen and start jotting down your own responses as we look through these different prompts. So what is credibility? Let's talk about that first. Credibility is a perception of integrity, expertise, and competence that others have in an individual. Credibility means you know what you're talking about, you understand the situation. In this case, you understand real estate, you understand the market, you understand the challenges, you understand the results and the potential outcomes. And so building trust and defining your competencies is what we're going to do next. We're going to outline, and again, using the pen and paper, or you can use your computer if you're doing a digital version of the workbook, and write down your responses to these. They don't have to be long responses. They can be one-word answers, or they can be prompts of a few words or a phrase, as long as you know what it means to you. Our goal ultimately is to get between 8 and 10, 5 to 7, 8 to 10 of these different characteristics across all 3 of these categories and put them into the Copilot tool. So first of all, I want you to think about your transaction experience in real estate or Your customer loyalty stats. So what is that? That means you may often hear an agent say, well, 95% of my business comes from referrals. That's huge. That's a big number, but you want to be able to be sure that you can prove it, right? Not just make statements that are impressive, but have the information and the documentation to back it up. So your transaction experience, right? Maybe across your career, you've done 1,000 transactions on either side. That is relevant, and that brings credibility to who you are. You can also talk about the number of years as a real estate agent in your community. Maybe you're just getting started, but that's okay because it means you're motivated and you have ambition and you're eager to help others. Perhaps you have an affiliation with a local real estate board or a business organization specific to real estate. So maybe you're a member of a local chapter of your local association. Perhaps you serve on a committee. Maybe you hold a higher level of governance. Maybe you're actually a director. Maybe you work in the local community for a fine arts commission or something related to real estate. These are all really important. Your global luxury or other certifications. If you have global luxury, that's important to note, obviously, but if you also are SRES or CIS, or you're a rental specialist, or perhaps you have other certification that really means something and can help you leverage who you are, it's important to include it. Also, your award designations or industry recognition. Maybe you have been on Coldwell Banker Realty's list of international honorees on a very consistent basis. That's important. Also important is if you have been on a top 10 list in your office or at your regional level. Outward, also external recognition and credibility may come from other sources. Perhaps you're on the Real Trends list. Perhaps you and your team have made the top list of agents in your metro. A number of magazines out there that are consumer focused often run those kinds of lists for helping real estate agents to gain notoriety and interest and note. And those are things that also count. Maybe you've received positive, of course you have, right? Positive consumer feedback or client feedback or reviews. These are testimonials. Your testimonials are incredibly important to defining your agent value proposition. The other thing about testimonials is they're evergreen, especially the ones that are really positive. You don't need to put a date on them. You don't need to include the person's full name. A positive review is a positive review, and great feedback can go a long way. So those are evergreen, and you can include them in your agent value proposition. Also, the power of the Coldwell Banker brand behind you, right? At this point, we're 118 years old. Our tools are exceptional. You can consider yourself on the cutting edge of technology, at the forefront of being digital forward. This is all really important and can help definitely define credibility for you and for your business. So go through these, again, jotting down notes, making bullet points, trigger words for you. These are phrases and ideas of things that you can think about that lend to your credibility. The second category that we're going to help you use to define who you are is relevance. Relevance is the degree to which someone or something is connected or pertinent to a particular subject, context, or situation. In this case, of course, how relevant is it that you're in real estate? How relevant is your experience and your knowledge? So again, pen to paper, or you're using your editable version of the PDF workbook, I want you to think about what you bring to the customer or the client in this very moment. Your potential client is looking to make sure that you're relevant for them, right? So here are some things to consider. How does your knowledge of current local market conditions align with effectively addressing your client's needs? A few things that come to mind to me are MarketQuest. Those kinds of stats are right at your fingertips. You have Prospect Square reports and market data that you can run for your potential client. There are a lot of resources available to you where your current local market conditions can effectively combine to address your client's needs. How valuable is your sphere of influence, your SOI, your contacts, and your lead network? Well, if we think about it for a moment, in the US alone, you have 49,999 other affiliated agents that you can connect with. That's a lot of network. You have a global network of clients, of potential connections around the world with Coldwell Banker, and you have your own sphere. Those around you that are going to be happy to refer you, they're going to be happy to talk about you, they're going to be happy to endorse you for others. So how are you involved in local groups, community organizations, or businesses that are networking organizations, for instance? Many folks enjoy the BNI, maybe the Business Networking Institute, maybe you're connected to a local chamber of commerce, or maybe you're active in another way in a community organization. Think about how that can define relevance for you. How are you informed about local real estate news or happenings? Hopefully, you've got a news source that you're regularly checking into. Maybe at a higher level, you subscribe to something from the industry like Inman or other things, but it is important, obviously, to know what's happening at your local level where you are. It may not matter what's happening in another part of the country, because what matters to your clients and to your potential clients is where they are now and your relevance in being able to address those conditions and situations with them. Do you have affiliations with Coldwell Banker Cares or perhaps the St. Jude Foundation or other charitable organizations? Maybe you are a champion of your community. Maybe you are the one. And our final category to help define your agent value proposition is differentiation. Of course, this is the process or strategy of highlighting unique attributes, features, or qualities that set you apart and make you stand out in the minds of consumers. You want to rise above the competition. You want to shine like no other. So this is what differentiation brings for your value proposition. Get your pen ready and your editable PDF, and let's get into this one. What are some of the life experiences that you've had and how do they benefit you? Perhaps you were a former marketing executive. Maybe you were a home inspector or a contractor. Maybe you still are doing some of those things. Maybe it was from the financial services field or something entirely different. Think about how these can be applied in your current situation as a real estate professional. How do your value-added hobbies help you stand out in your field? Maybe you're a super photographer. That would mean a lot because you have the ability to see the best angles and to capture the best images for your listings. Maybe you love gardening. Maybe you even have a little landscape business on the side. Maybe home improvement and decor is where you shine. These can all be very different for you to define yourself and help your potential clients understand the added value that you bring to the table. What are some non-real estate hobbies that interest you, and how do they enhance your work and your ability to connect with others? Maybe you're a foodie and you know all of the best restaurants in town and around. Maybe you're into fitness and well-being. Maybe you work out on a regular basis. It's a great way to meet other people, that's for sure. Maybe you like to travel. Certainly, every time you travel, you should be checking out another Coldwell Banker office, wherever it is in the world. Maybe you're a bookworm, and maybe you run a book club. Also another great way for people to know who you are and what differentiates you. Do you have experience working with a specialty consumer base? Or have you worked in previous transactions that were unique or different? Maybe you're a military specialist. Relo can be a very big part of your business. Maybe you specialize in farm and ranch or working with seniors who are stepping down from a large family home into a different scenario. What about those first-time home buyers? They need true expert knowledge and guidance. Make sure you're able to back these up, right? You can't just state that you know a lot about first-time home buyers, but when it comes down to it, maybe it's not your thing. Definitely go with what you know. And if you're carving out a niche market, even better. Do you have vendors that can assist a home buyer or a seller? Are there programs that set you apart? Probably as a real estate agent, you've got your own special set of people that you're going to call for all kinds of things, from plumbing to moving to decor to painting or gardening. We at Coldwell Banker also offer Real Vitalize, which is a true differentiator when it comes to that presentation. Real Vitalize can certainly help you stand out among the competition, as can any of those special contractors or contacts that you've got. And finally, what do you offer above the competition? Typical answers might be, well, I'm good at what I do, or I really love working with people. I'm not sure if you're selling houses to animals, but what is it that makes you stand out among the competition? Think about it really intently and thoughtfully. And when you've got all these answers put down on paper or in your editable PDF, we're going to be ready to dive into the AI, the Copilot, and help craft that value proposition. Okay, next we're going to use the artificial intelligence tool called Copilot. Again, it's from Microsoft. So we're going to go, here is my desktop that you can see, my screen. I happen to have Copilot on my bookmarks toolbar because I do use it quite often. And I think you'll find after this experience using artificial intelligence and Copilot to define your agent value proposition that you'll see there could be some other terrific applications for yourself as a real estate agent to help you in numerous ways. So this is what the view looks like when you sign on to Copilot. Shrink this down just a little bit. You have the Copilot tab, and here's a notebook tab. You can use the notebook tab to write and to draft and to get your thoughts together versus this tab on Copilot. It's a quick question, or it could be a longer question with content that you want to type in here and get a result. Once you hit enter, it's gone. So when you use the notebook function, it's easier to kind of get your thoughts together, enter in those prompts, type in some questions and other things like that. So I'm going to start here on the notebook side, and I'm going to show you how to get this prompt together with your content to create a result. So what's on my mind? So I'm going to ask Copilot, we're basically giving it instructions. We have to tell it what we want and provide it with the information, and then it can formulate and craft a result for us. So I'm going to type craft an agent, craft a value proposition for a real estate agent using these categories and characteristics. Now, in the workbook, you can see it word for word. I'm paraphrasing a bit here, but again, you can reference the workbook, type in right here exactly as it is there, get a similar result, and you'll see as we work through this. So the characteristics I might want to put for myself, again, not a real estate agent. Oh, let's tell it to stop responding. See, it was ready to ask me some questions. So here are these characteristics. 12 years as a real estate agent, working in sales for more than 20 years, a background in fine arts and interior design, a member of the National Association, or here, the Anne Arundel County Association of Real Estate Agents, or whatever your metro may be. More than 100 5-star reviews on, make sure you're checking your spelling also, on Google Business, and an affinity for working with first-time home buyers across the greater Annapolis and Anne Arundel County area. Okay, so I'm submitting it. Copilot's working on it. Okay, so you'll see it's automatically coming up with a result. To create an agent value proposition, we also want it to be something that's easy to understand and that will appeal to consumers, right? So now that I have this result, it may not be perfect. It may not be exactly everything I wanted, but, and I notice it also says we, so we want to define it in the first person. So I can either like it or I can dislike it. I can copy it and save it to a Word document, which I will suggest to you is a very critical step. Copying the content and saving it to a Word document will save you a lot of time and headaches, because once you exit out of this screen, if I were to switch over to Copilot, or if I were to start again with another prompt or another question, I will lose what I've already created. The other great thing we can do is copy all of this. We can download it. We can export it as a Word document, which is the easier step. You can export it as a PDF, or you can export it as text. I would suggest Word is really the easiest to work with in this case. So I'm going to copy this prompt, and I'm going to go back into Copilot over here. It says, ask me anything. So I'm going to say, using the below content, please refine the agent value proposition in first person, singular, because I'm not a we, I'm not a team, and make it lighter and friendlier. So what it does, it takes that content that it wrote before, puts it into quotes so that it can recognize it was something that was already created. And we're going to click submit. And now it's going to start generating it. And it says the result, right up front. Absolutely. Here's a lighter and friendlier version of your real estate agent value proposition. Okay. So make sure when you're doing this also, when you get this result, now we're going to talk about refining and kind of reviewing it, refining it, and refreshing it. Make sure it feels like you. Make sure it feels authentic. And make sure that the words that you are reading and you're going to be committing to memory are words that you would actually say. In some cases, it might be too heavy. They might make it really professional. Copilot might say, okay, this is a very serious thing. In other cases, I've seen some really funny results, such as the agent put in, I live in the neighborhood. I know every street like the back of my hand. And Copilot said, this agent knows every squirrel in the neighborhood, which might be a little bit much. So you'll have to explore the option, print it out. I suggest copy it or download it into a Word version. It would actually include a couple emojis, which is okay. But if it sounds like you, it should be you, right? Now, this started off really strong with real estate. Me personally, I might want to take a little bit of a softer approach and talk about my love of helping people and how I love fine art and architecture and design and on and on. So I can refine this, right? You can have it read aloud to you, which might be helpful just to see how it hears if you're on the receiving end of it. But most importantly, you'll definitely want to copy it and save it or download it, right? So we're going to switch back over to the presentation and some suggestions about what to do next. Now that you have this, we're going to review it, refine it, refresh it, repeat, and come up with a result that you can really use. Okay, now that we've used Copilot and artificial intelligence to help craft a statement, we can start refining it. So as I mentioned, you want to fine tune, right? Let's put it all together. You can ask Copilot to continue the conversation until you get your desired results. Keep giving it instructions. You can say shorten this statement to get to your 30-second pitch, right? The result that you should have should be a good 3 minutes, right? And then you can add another one of your strengths. Maybe the result wasn't really hitting as hard as you wanted it to. Maybe it just wasn't dynamic enough. So you can go back through your statements and your points, your thoughts that you were jotting down, and add those back in. You could also say make it more conversational, or as I attempted to do, make it friendlier and lighthearted. So just be careful. You don't want to get something that's too goofy. Similarly, you don't want to get something that's so cold and refined that it's not going to land with anyone. So one or more of your responses, right, is going to be the start to your 30-second elevator pitch and your 3-minute extended like cocktail pitch or conversational pitch. Edit, correct it, modify it, check it, put it through spell check, put it through, a synonym checker if you want. If there's some words that you don't feel comfortable with, you can change it up, right? Also make sure that you haven't mentioned anything that might bring into question any local or national real estate, legal or fair housing concerns. Make sure you understand those guidelines very succinctly. Now you want to take your finalized version and write it up. Remember back in school, we used to have to memorize a lot of things. I functioned really well when I would handwrite things out. I would commit it to memory. I would write it again and again and again. That might be a way that you could learn it by heart without having to refer to notes or look at your phone and just have it roll off the tongue very comfortably. You want it to commit to memory, right? You are the one who's presenting your own agent value proposition. It's got to sound like you. It's going to represent you. It's going to be you. And then you want to rehearse it, right? Write it out on paper again, adapt it, change it around a little bit. If you feel more comfortable starting off with the 30 years of service or the #1 award winner, go ahead and do that. Rehearse in the mirror, practice in front of family and friends. You can also record yourself on your phone, create a video, and send it to your manager. Send it to a colleague or send it to a field marketing specialist and ask for their feedback. Leave a voicemail of your agent value proposition for your branch manager. Call a friend or call a family member and leave it on their voicemail and see what they say. Practice by making the selfie video. I talked about that. Sit face to face with someone in your office and rehearse. Have a good practice session, right? You want to come up again with that elevator pitch. That's about 30 seconds. And I would suggest maybe even get into an elevator and see how well you execute. You can contact your local sales leadership and rehearse your 30-minute listing presentation. At the beginning of this session, I talked about it being a great opportunity to go back and look at what you do and how you can make it better. Whether you're in the buyer's presentation area or a listing presentation, your value proposition can be applicable in either way based on the content that you've put into it, right? You should review your listing presentation. I suggest you also take a look at that 12-minute listing presentation that's in Moxie. Also highlighting the Spotlight Marketing Program, also known as Listing Concierge, another huge value add and differentiator that you can bring to the table for your potential clients. You can also make a next available appointment and rehearse your pitches. It's now available. You log into next available appointment, and one of the top choices is going to be practice pitch rehearsal. That's not a tongue twister. Practice makes perfect, right? Keep doing it until you feel really, really comfortable. So now that you have this pitch, what are you going to do with it? We want you to start using it, of course. You're going to master the verbal version for each of those scenarios: elevator pitch, conversational pitch, and your presentation. Update your materials, update it on CV Desk, enhance your bio, right? That always needs a good update every now and then. Update your marketing materials, your personal brand. Maybe this is a good opportunity to contact Design Concierge and say, hey, you know what? I just came up with my agent value proposition, and now I want a visual identity that's going to match that. Or conversely, if you have a visual identity, maybe you were just missing a tagline, or maybe you were missing a way to really describe how it is and who you are with this visual identity. Now you have both elements there. You can think about that. Also create a campaign to your sphere that highlights your value. You can bring your pitch to life in social media and in online content. Record yourself doing segments of your pitch and create a series of stories or a series of those clips that you use in Reels on Instagram or maybe through Facebook. It's all valuable application. The intention, of course, is to highlight your value, differentiate you, bring more attention to you, and shine over the competition. You can, again, marry your agent value proposition with some of the tools and materials from Coldwell Banker, the Coldwell Banker brand, and synergy between the brand and what you have to offer certainly can help you stand out in the market and win over clients. And finally, take a look at some other resources that are available to you. Schedule a meeting with your field marketing person to refine your unique value statement. Maybe you've gone through this a couple times, you've done Copilot, you keep getting the same kind of result, we can help you. Secondly, I mentioned Design Concierge. Maybe it's an opportunity to refine your brand and enhance it or elevate yourself to a new level with your agent value proposition. You can scan that QR code right here on the screen and access the 2024 Agent Marketing Plan, which is still highly relevant. We provide you with a month-by-month suggestion of action items and things you can do in the digital, print, and person-to-person realm to help you advance your business goals. And finally, after crafting your 30-second or 3-minute pitch, complete the 12-minute listing presentation class that's offered quite regularly. Connect with your sales leadership to practice the whole thing, right? Practice makes perfect. You want to be able to give that listing presentation in such a way that is only going to yield a yes. So showcase yourself and your unique value statement and everything you have to offer with your perfect pitch. Thank you so much for following along. Again, we'll offer these sessions on a regular basis through the Coldwell Banker University and through your local marketing chapters. Take care.